No, you're missing an entire. It's an eyelash. Make a wish.
I don't want to.
Make a wish.
Okay. Didn't come true.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Mizzy. Look, a lot of times we say, man, this is my favorite TV show ever. This show right here is the #1 show I've ever seen. When I say I love this show, man, Seinfeld. This was a show, so I'm going to backtrack. Man, I was born in 1992, if people want to just coincide how Seinfeld. Man, this show right here is when I talking about like something I go back to, you know when you have something that's like your comfortability, and it's like you, if you're in a bad mood, you want to feel good, you will go back to it. It could be music. I do have music I listen to, but this TV show right here was like one of the earliest things I fell in love with. My dad used to watch this show a lot, so I was watching it, catching the episodes he would watch. And like I say, man, I just fell in love with this show. I don't remember the very first episode I seen, but I just remember after my dad watched it, that I continued to watch it for years. Like I say, even once I got older, rewatching the reruns, catching everything that I missed. Because you know when you're younger, there's certain stuff that you just don't get, like the episode about Elaine and the sponges, when she was out of sponges, and you know she went to the store, the pharmacy, and bought all of them out. George going over there to try to get one, and then she's like, I just can't do it. Man, all them stuff, classic moments, man. You know, one thing I tell people, man, about Seinfeld, man, it turned everyday life into just like comedy. You know, the show was fearless, you know, being about nothing. It just turned everyday moments into, like, you know, everyday relatable moments, just everyday stuff. Like I say, you could relate to it. Because, like I say, waiting for a table, you know, a bad date, annoying neighbors, you know, stuff that most shows, you know, kind of would touch on, it turned to whole plots. You know, like I said, waiting for a table. That was a whole episode, and it was funny. One of the best episodes. Like I say, and you know, Seinfeld, it just had a way about, you know, it built the characters from the first season to the 9th season. And in my opinion, I know a lot of people be like, oh man, you know, they you know, people have when Seinfeld hit his run and when it was great. Like most people probably be like season 2, 3 to 7, around there. Man, it was still great episodes of season 9. It was still episodes that was classic Seinfeld moments. You know, the episode with Newman, like I said, I think this was in season 9, if I'm remembering correctly. The episode when Jerry, you know, he had the stereo that was broke, and Kramer asked him, do he want a refund? And, you know, George came in with the camera, you know, took the picture when he had the screwdriver. Man, that was a classic episode in a later season. So, like I said, this is just one of those shows when a lot of people talk about their favorite sitcoms. I just never had a sitcom that I went back to like Seinfeld. There's a lot of sitcoms and TV shows I like, but it just was always something about Seinfeld. Sometimes it's unexplainable. Like I said, I just fell in love with this. If people want to know, like, my favorite character, George on the show, you know, sometimes it would change, but man, for the most part, George was my favorite character. He was just so funny, crazy, the way he, like, say, most of my favorite episodes are probably stuff from what George, it was, you know, the episode was centered around George. But, you know, one thing about Seinfeld, it would have a main plot and it would have a subplot. The subplot sometimes would almost take over the story. You would have a main plot, say, for instance, the episode when the contest, when they're competing about who's going to not masturbate or have sex. Now, all of a sudden, you got a subplot, like I say, that something else going on in the episode. And that, like I say, Seinfeld was just one of those shows that like I say, man, it just transcended time. Like I say, I was younger watching it. I could imagine being older in the 90s and experiencing it. I see nowadays some people say, oh man, Seinfeld was overrated. Man, to me, that's crazy talk. I love Seinfeld. This is one of those shows that will stand the test of time, has stood the test of time, and will forever stand the test of time. They left on a high. They, like I say, the season finale, it is what it is. Over the times, I went back to it and can appreciate it a little more because it kind of wrapped up, brought back old characters. So I see what they were doing. I always say, man, it's hard to end out on a all-time show. It's rare that most all-time shows end on a high. It's only a few shows that do that. But like I said, man, Seinfeld, like I say, man, I love this show forever. Guys, people in the comments, let me know. I was thinking of doing a top 10 or top 20 my favorite Seinfeld episodes. Not, I guess what you would say, I think people think the best are, but my 20 favorite. People let me know in the comments what you think. Would you be interested in viewing it? Would you be interested in watching it? I may do it anyway, because like I said, man, this is one of my passions. Like I said, I love Seinfeld. And like I said, man, this show, it was just like a cultural phenomenon. Even when I was younger, like I said, I still remember multiple people talking about it. Even though people would say, oh, Seinfeld was the white TV show. Like I said, obviously my dad was black. I know plenty black people love this show. I even got friends. I remember one of my friends, me and him, when him stayed together a little while. I remember when I was, telling him about Seinfeld. I used to talk about Seinfeld all the time. Once he watched it, he would be dying laughing. He'll be like, I get it now. I understand. Because he's like, man, I used to didn't really watch Seinfeld, but once he started watching, he was like, oh man, this show great. And I tell people, man, this is my favorite sitcom. Everybody has their sitcom, but mine is Seinfeld. But anyways, guys, like I said, man, I just wanted to come on here, talk about this show a little bit. Not really get this show light because it's a hit show. So what light can I give it? But like I said, just wanted to talk about it quick, man. Appreciate y'all guys. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll catch you next time.